Okay. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Did I type something wrong? Seriously? I love these issues. Okay. Uh, okay. So it seems to be working then. Okay, that's good news. So recently, you've probably noticed over at Antergos, there's been an announcement that they're going to stop developing. I actually have it up here. Let's see. So you may have noticed that we now have a beta notice on our website. So that is, if you have not installed it already, it's because we're currently having some issues with installations with Cinchi. However, I saved this good news for now. These issues we've had, one of our users, I believe Damien, has noticed that is actually related to the AUR option in our feature selection screen, which is really strange because that is actually one of the only options that we have not dared to even touch or edit at all. At least, yeah. So it's really strange that it would be messed up, but it seems to be. So we're working on getting that fixed, but at the same time, it's difficult because, fun fact, I thought it would be an easy fix because all I'd have to do is just to build another ISO that included Cinchi, but a version that didn't have some of the newer changes, so it would still feature the Antergos repo or repository, but this way at least it would be up there for everyone. And yeah, apparently that's not happening yet, because when we tried to build it, all the Antergos packages refused, the signature is messed up for them. So I'm not sure why the signature is messed up. I wish I had actually taken a screenshot of it, but when I went to try to build it in the little terminal, it's building, it's on package 816 or something like that, really close to the end. And then there's about 20 fail messages where it claims that the Antergos packages are all corrupted. So multiple people on the team, Techie or Geek Slope Detail, and I have both tried to build it ourselves, but we both ran into the same signature issues, which leads us to believe that it might be something to do with Antergos, especially since this started happening the day or two after they made the announcement rather than us. But hopefully we can actually get this fixed soon. So that is one of the things. At the same time, in 3 months, Antergos will completely be gone. The Antergos ISO, I've heard it's working, but as far as I know, it's only because they haven't had to try to rebuild it. Their ISO, I think, is about a month old by now, and so that one still works. They didn't have to build Cinchi. They didn't have to deal with building the packages for the ISO again. So I believe their ISO works. I heard news. Okay, so this is a funny backstory. For those that don't know, I'm technically also on the new Antergos development team now, more as an advisor because over here at Reborn, we've been doing it longer than the new team over at Antergos has. They're codenamed the Endeavor Project right now. And so they actually wanted me in as their advisor per se. And so that's going to mean a lot for our future, not to say we're merging it all or anything like that. We're remaining two distinct things, but we're also going to be able to work together and pool our resources. So one of the things we're actually going to do, one of the neat things, I'm not allowed to say, well, I was told they'd prefer me not to say too much about it till I want to say next Thursday. That might be, I would one of them said it was Ascension Day. So if that's Thursday, then yes. Until then. But what I can tell you is we've already agreed that both the new Antergos, codenamed Endeavor, and Reborn, we're both going to use the same installer. They're actually going to be using our installer Phoenix, and as well, they're going to help us implement an offline installer. I know you guys have been asking for this a lot, and one of their devs over there actually has an offline installer developed. It's still command line only, but they're working on polishing it up. And our goal is that we can actually offer both options in the installer when it comes out. If you guys have ever seen people like Joe Camprad on the Antergos forum, he's already volunteered his services to help us with the Phoenix installer. So not only will we be able to make better progress, we'll get it out to you all sooner, we'll also have less bugs in it by the nature that both the Antergos community and us will be using the same installer. The best part about this is our installers, even though we're using the same installer, they'll still be somewhat different. We will not have to worry about whatever Antergos wants, because what they have proposed, and I have to go over this to see how we're going to implement this with other people on the team, but their idea right now, which is not a firm one yet, is to create 2 different directories to drag the files from. So they're basically all the file. For instance, Cinchi right now, if you go to boot up the live ISO and go to user share or USR share Cinchi, all the Cinchi files are in that one directory. Well, the neat thing is we were thinking of splitting the directories for Farron. That's another distro I've been actually playing around with over the last month or so. We are thinking of having Phoenix's directories kind of be split. So we're going to have our own special directory, which means we don't have to worry about what they're doing. They're going to have their own special directory, so they don't need to worry about what we're doing. But our files are pretty much going to be very similar. So there could be a few overlaps, but pretty much it's kind of like 2 people under the same umbrella. So we're each going to be able to develop the installer how we want, but we're also going to be able to contribute. So people like Joe Camprad from the Antergos forum will be coming over to our team shortly to help us out. He is really good with Bash, so he should be able to help us out further with some of our scripts and maybe partitioning. And I don't want to speak very much because we're not quite sure. Oh, yes, Phoenix will be built from scratch, sort of. We're obviously using some tools for it, such as Glade, which helps us develop the interface, and we're going to use Python as the backend underneath, not because it's overly fast, but because it's really easy to use. And right now, I think we all want it up within 3 months, because that is when Antergos fully plummets and dies for good. So in order to actually get it up in 3 months, we're using an easier language that more people are familiar with. And plus it's cross-platform, which makes it even easier for different architectures and when looking towards the future. So that's that. I can't say too much more because there's other things going on over in the Antergos dev team, the new one right now, codenamed Endeavor, than just the installer. But the installer is what we know for sure. And on Ascension Day, we should be able to come out with more information. Will Phoenix crash when the internet drops? So ideally, no. But please remember that's ideally. Something could happen. We're trying to make it more stable. And actually, this is just an idea I came up with recently. But if any of you have tried Anarchy Linux, you've probably noticed that they have an online installer as well. Granted, it's CLI, but it's an online installer that has that lets you pick from several different desktops. It lets you pick from several different features, and then it installs. And from what I've heard, it has a pretty good reputation for being successful, at least better than Cinchi was. So my thought is we could take some of the scripts from them and then modify them and kind of use them as a base for developing Phoenix, so that so that from there we can make sure we have a more stable installer. It's not CLI? Darn, what would that be called then? Because it's definitely not a graphical installer like Cinchi or Manjaro's, well, Calamari's, which isn't Manjaro's, but let's see. Just catching up here. The overall goal for Fenix not to scrap any options that were available in Cinchi. Yes, exactly. So the idea for Fenix is to allow you to install as much or as little as you could possibly want. Our goal is to put you in the ultimate control. And the neat thing with this is ultimately we hope with Fenix to offer you even more control than Cinchi did. So remember the feature selection screen in Cinchi kind of, it's, I don't know, halfway through the installation process, just on one of the slides just before the actual installation starts, you get to select things. Well, if you've recalled, many of you have asked for better control in the gaming, especially the gaming option, because maybe you want to install one or two of the games that are in there, but you don't want to install all 15 or 10 or however, whatever plethora of options we offer in that. And so the idea with Fenix is to give you even greater control without making it look clunky. So the idea is, which we have not fully implemented yet, and I'm not making a promise that this improvement will be in the first version, because the first version is just getting it out there. But the idea is we'll have the same options, but then there'll be another drop-down menu underneath the gaming option, and it'll list all the games in it, and you'll be able to check and uncheck which ones you want, and that should give you more control. Again, that's more of a long-term thing. I'm not making any promises it'll be in there right away. I'm not making any promises that we're going to prioritize that right away, but ultimately, it's a dream. Anarchy's installer neither CLI nor GUI. I think it would be called TUI. That makes sense, actually. Yeah, because I did notice it's definitely not fully terminal. I mean, it's in the terminal, but it's not like you have to input Y or N or 1, 2, 3, or 4 like you might in a normal plain old script with loops and all that. I actually tried it out a night or two ago, and it seems really nice. But once again, we want to create a fully GUI interface. Sorry about the phone. I'm actually doing this. I'm actually not doing this at home because we just moved into our home 1 week ago, not even that. And as such, our home is a disaster. And there wasn't any room to do this. So I'm actually over in the downstairs of a local church. And that is why you can see a kitchen there. And so I don't know how many of you know this, probably not many, but my dad is actually a local pastor. And so that's why I'm able to do this in in the downstairs. Why not Corbilar, like the car for the I'm a bit confused what you mean by Corbilar. I'm sorry. Fenix modular for third party by making it use text file for loading mirror and other stuff without being dependent on that new Antergos. Interesting. Okay, so again, we want to make Fenix as amazing as possible. Right, for a while, we just want to get it out there. Ultimately, we want to be able to look at all your guys' suggestions, and we will have much more control on Fenix because we will be the actual developers of it. And so we hope to be able to hold more polls to see what you guys want, to see what you, the community, want, and put you guys front and center. And so hopefully we'll be able to hold maybe a poll, I don't know, once a month, once every 2 months, to see what new features you guys want. We could vote on it. And some features, of course, are more long-term, and some features will be easy to implement. And I'm sure there'll be a few suggestions that just won't be possible. For instance, this is on an extreme example, but say someone were to ask that Fenix, let's see, I don't know, while it was installing, in addition to the progress bar, it rained virtual confetti on your screens. That's a silly example, but what I'm trying to say is that odds are there's going to be a few suggestions that just will be impossible to implement from a technical view, no matter how much you enjoy confetti. So I'm hoping so, but we'll have to see what people vote on, and ultimately we will just be developing this for Antergos, the new Antergos, codenamed Endeavor, and Reborn, and any others that want to use it. It would be really neat if it became more modular, kind of like Calamares, where a ton of distros, the most well-known being Manjaro, use that. But that's definitely a long-term goal and something we need to vote on. So, to clarify for the offline installer, someday we could integrate with Fenix, but at the beginning, we just want to make sure that Fenix works. And so we are definitely working towards an offline installer. There's actually already some development over at the new Antergos team to work on that, but it will most likely not be integrated with Fenix the very first few releases, and I don't know how much of a priority it will be. It'll be mostly based on what you guys want. So if you guys want offline to be a big priority for us, or if you want it to be more feature-rich, or if you want it to be more stable, whatever you guys want will most likely be our first goal. And so while you guys have wanted an offline installer for a long time, we'll have to vote on it again. And for the first few releases, at least, it's going to actually be a separate CLI program. I don't know if you've seen Fernando Morato on the Antergos forum, but he is actually the one working on it. He's created an offline Antergos ISO, an installer for about a year now, and it's called Portagos, I believe. It's just like Antergos but you take off the ant and put port because it's supposed to be portable. You can install it anywhere because it's offline. And so he's working on making that script that he's created compatible with our ISOs right now. In fact, he's already created the first testing version, which he sent to me in a PM over there. And I won't go into it more because that's his thing. It's his area of expertise. I don't want to spoil anything. But things are looking very hopeful, despite the fact that we're in beta right now. And while that doesn't affect not anyone that has it already installed, it does affect people who want to install Reborn. Obviously, Sinchi is giving us errors and seems to have died a very violent, sudden death, pretty much the day that Antergos stopped development. So we're working on getting things running again, but it doesn't affect any of you. And in fact, tonight I'll probably be updating our repository again. I haven't done that in a bit because of classes and work, and of course, getting this set up with Antergos. Ironically, I've been in the Antergos admin group for 3 years now because they forgot to take me off when I started Reborn. And so that's how I actually got in their new development team. They have about like 5 or 6 people in it. And so far, it's looking really strong. And the neat thing with both teams is they are really strong with programmers, and we are much stronger with, of course, everyone on our team definitely programs, and we've all done bash scripts, but there's a lot more of us that are good on the graphical end of things. And so the neat thing will be both communities will benefit while we both get to stay separate. We'll both work together on things, like the Fenix installer, and there's more that I can't say right now, but the goal is it'll benefit all of us. How Sinchi could have died, but also be working right now. Okay, that's funny. So if you try to build Sinchi now, at least for me, it builds, but not correctly. So the reason it's working in the Antergos ISO is because theirs is a month old, and so Sinchi is configured for Antergos 1 month ago. Ours is configured much newer when Antergos already knew it was going to end, and so that's why ours is running into issues and theirs is not. For instance, if they were to try to put out a new ISO, they'd probably have problems with Sinchi already. That's not guaranteed, but I suspect they would. And obviously, we've ran into problems with Sinchi already when we tried to rebuild it and get a new ISO out for you guys. So right now, we're really focusing on the Fenix installer. And let's see. Oh, one last bit of news. For any of you that have been around for several months, you probably remember when we talked about ConTrach OS, and their devs had come to us asking for a merge. Yes, so I know many of you guys were hoping that we'd merge with them. I think I've also mentioned to most of you that I felt like something was off with that. Something didn't feel right, but they seemed like a good group of people. So I don't know how many of you have been keeping up on the Antergos announcements on their forum as of late, but the thread is now deleted. I can see it still because I'm an Antergos admin technically, but a day or two after Antergos announced that they were stopping, the developers of ConTrach OS jumped on it and created an announcement on Antergos' own forum, in all caps, mind you, that said, I'm reading right now from the archived thread of it, migrate Antergos to ConTrach OS. And then they had full instructions for it, and they didn't even dare to mention that this was not specifically supported by the Endeavor project or the new Antergos. So they seemed to try to kind of take advantage of the fact that Antergos was leaving by trolling the Antergos forum itself and creating an announcement just to advertise their own distro. So you can imagine the response was kind of poorly. Let's see, where's one of the first ones? One of the first responses, someone politely mentioned, actually ConTrach OS looks more like looks like an ISO with Manjaro tools on Arch-based than Arch. And let's see, we actually had to forcefully go in and edit his thread to mention that it wasn't supported by us because he tried to make it seem like we were backing him. We actually had to edit some of his posts too, I believe. Let's see. So fun fact, where is it? Someone linked to a really good thread over at Manjaro. There we go. Here it is. Okay, so this one is still up. I'm typing the link in right here for you guys that want to check it out. Let's see, forum.manjaro.org -t or I should say /ConTrach OS deja vu. I think that's the link. Well, let's see. 77884. There we go. That's the link, I think. I'm gonna click on it here to make sure. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, is this good? Looks good. Yep, okay, that's the thread. So it turns out it may not have been it's a good thing that we didn't end up merging because they came to Manjaro a few months ago and actually tried to do the same thing. They kind of self-advertised, it seems, and in the process, a bit was discovered about them. For instance, at least at that time, all of the ConTrach repository is actually directly mirrored from the Manjaro repository with barely any differences. It's all just rebranded to say ConTrach rather than Manjaro. So in a way, of course, GPL allows this, and that's just fine. I don't see why you would want to copy a repository if you're just using it anyways, other than you like to see your distro name splattered all over the packages. The package names, I get that. Okay, I can see that. But fun fact, they did not mention that or acknowledge that this was actually from Manjaro. In fact, Manjaro users were exploring their forum and discovered that most of the user activity on the ConTrach OS forum, at least as of that time, was actually fake users whose content, their posts, were just copied and pasted threads from the Manjaro forum and the Manjaro announcements. In fact, they even copied posts and announcements and threads by Philip, the now lead Manjaro developer. So you can imagine where problems come in with GPL for this. GPL, of course, says it's just fine to copy people. I mean, that's what open source is all about, collaboration. But you have to acknowledge that it's coming from someone else. You can't claim it's your own content. So fun fact, ConTrach OS claimed that it was their own content, all their work. When they found out the Manjaro users were visiting their forum, incidentally, you can jump to your own conclusion here. Incidentally, their website spontaneously shut down into maintenance mode and stayed down for, from what I could tell, it seemed like a few days. The thread stopped on Manjaro at that point, but one user kept checking, and within a few days, I believe, time frame could be off. I didn't actually look at the little time mentioned on each post. I'm just assuming there. The site came back up, and one user took a screenshot of a post that was actually copied and pasted from his own real post. So he showed where on the ConTrach OS forum, his own words were posted directly in an announcement thread that he had made on Manjaro. And so no matter your feelings on Manjaro, this probably doesn't seem fair. And under the GPL, it does actually give users the rights to their own content and there's no problem with copying things as long as you give credit to the person. And since the Manjaro forum, as far as I understand it from that thread, is licensed under GPL, so are the users' comments. So on the Manjaro forum, from what I could understand, it's fine to quote someone from Manjaro as long as you mention at the end that this is from this person from here and link to it or something. They didn't do that. Finally, on their website, on the ConTrach OS website, you probably noticed that they say they have 20 years of experience. Sorry, I have another screen over here, which is why I keep looking there. They have 20 years of experience. Some users, some exceptionally, brilliant users, did some digging online and found out their social media accounts and various things that the ConTrach OS devs are only 35. You can imagine if you do the addition or subtraction, 35 minus 20, their professional experience has to start at age 15. Obviously, if I were to, I don't want to bash them too much. However, that's technically illegal if you're trying to offer professional service to say that to include your time underage as a minor in that. And so, due to various sketchy things with those regards, I just want to let you know that in one podcast I made a while ago, I had actually recommended giving ConTrach a spin because I didn't know about all this. That thread was not actually created at that time. And I wanted to let you know all these facts because I wanted to warn you, I would not try them out. Maybe they work well, but from what I can tell, they have a flagrant disregard for the GPL license and have, at least on that Manjaro thread, been extremely dishonest to the point of not only taking their website down when people tried to check them out, but they also flatly denied it. Even when a screenshot was posted right above that post, they flatly denied it until someone threatened legal action for violation under GPL. Namib, I actually have come across some of that, I think. I can't verify or talk about that much because I don't know enough to be much of an authority on that. But I think I have seen on various places of the web at least references to them doing the same thing. So I don't know how ConTrach OS actually is for daily use, but as for ethical use, I would at least warn you to be cautious when using them because they don't seem like the most honest developers to go with, especially considering that as open source, I think it's one of our priorities to ensure that our content is open source. And while theirs is open source, part of that, if you create a project and you label it as GPL, but in order to create the project, you break the GPL, I don't know how valid that makes your licensing. So I just want to put that out there. And currently we have a separate Discord server with the ConTrach OS developers. And I did want to, in case any of them will be watching this, just know, guys, that I will be removing myself from that server and shutting it down permanently in the next hour or so. I will be putting out a message to you guys explaining why I'm doing this. I don't want to seem mean or like I'm being unfair to you, so I'm going to give you guys a chance to say your piece. And if any of you are listening now, please pipe up. If you have an explanation for this, I want to hear it. I want to know why this happened. And if you have I can't think of a great reason for doing this, but if you had some amazing reason, go for it. I will give you time on the server that we share on Discord to do that, but I will be shutting it down pretty soon. If I don't hear from you, I'm assuming that you did exactly what you did on the Manjaro thread. When people started threatening you, you actually did what they asked, but then you disappeared and didn't do anything else. You just like fell off the face of the earth for them. And so if you do that, if you don't respond, I'll assume you're doing the same, and I'll just close it down within an hour, maybe a day, to give you guys more time. I get it. Real life happens. You're in a different time zone. You're in Italy. So I'll give you about 24 hours, but I will be shutting our server down with you. Not server as in like physical server, but just Discord server. So we do not have a physical server with them, thankfully. But I just wanted to let you know that. Ooh, I'm up for joining a live conference too if needed. Sure thing. This is the first time I've done this. I don't actually know how to add you in, but how about this? I can probably, let's see my week. I can probably do another live stream next, actually. Okay. I might do one next Sunday if you guys want, and then we can, between then and now, we can figure out how to add more than one people in live stream. I'm sure it's possible. Obviously you guys can tell this is my first time. I'm fairly inexperienced with this, so I don't know how to, but we can figure something out. And let's see. Oh, what I thought was interesting. So I don't know how many of you know this, but I actually work at a local library. I'm actually their dedicated Linux person. This library is amazing. Every single computer uses full Linux, Solus, Budgie, in fact, and LibreOffice. We use all the open source utilities. We even host our own servers in the library, which are run off Linux, as far as I know. And anyway, so that was part of why I got hired there, to manage the updates and the computers and all that. And I managed some of their security, mainly the security around settings. So I make sure that random people walk into the library can't, I don't know, say change their wallpaper to whatever they want. Not that changing wallpaper is bad. I wish we didn't have to restrict that, but there's some interesting people that come in, and you can imagine there's some interesting pictures they would like to make wallpapers with. So anyways, the point to that all is we just kicked off our summer reading program yesterday, actually. And for that, we brought in a science center because it's space themed, and we actually have a few Oculus Rift VR things set up. And so we had a full-on VR experience in the library for the whole community. About 20% of the entire town came in that day. It was kind of crazy, but the part of the reason that we have this VR technology is the library director's son is one of the founders of VR Chat, if you've heard of that. So he's actually one of the developers for VR Chat. They're working on, if you keep up with VR, which I didn't until I talked to him, the Oculus recently released the Oculus Quest, which is $400, and it's like their advanced versions, only is cordless and doesn't require a separate computer to go with it. So you literally pay $400 and that's it. That's your only thing you have to pay for. And because he's on the insider group, he knows about 30 people that have had the product for over a month. And from what he said, He hasn't heard of a single fault with it. If he had to give all his advice in one sentence, he said, and I quote, "Go for it." So, anyways, I think that's part of why so we have the latest VR stuff at the library, and I'm sort of friends with him. If possible, I might see if I can drag him onto a live stream sometimes because he has a lot of interesting things to say. And the neat thing about him is he's also a Linux user. So he's the one who initially got the library set up with Solus Budgie. And there are too few games for it. Yeah, so not to get too off topic, I'm renowned for going off topic, I know. But so I'll probably go too off topic. But he is not so much of a gamer. He more uses it. Okay, this is some technology that he's been telling me about lately. For about 5 years now, they've actually had the how do I explain this? They've had the technology to decode specific neuron signatures in relation to movement. So when your arm goes up like this, certain neurons are sent down a stream that kind of give that direction from your brain. And so kind of imagine it kind of like the blood vessel that you can use to tell your heartbeat on your wrist. So they've actually created bracelets that can tap into that. And so in VR, your virtual body can, or arm or whatever, can perform whatever action without your physical one doing so. But for about 5 years, the problem they've had, these wristbands, they have to be on and centered over the neuron stream perfectly because they go off even a nano, some infinitely small, really small measurement. They go off and get misaligned at all, it stops working, right? They can't detect the neuron flow. And so just about a month ago in labs, they've come out with a bracelet sort of thing that actually can automatically readjust itself to stay on top of the area it's supposed to be, kind of like a magnet, you could say. And so within the next 5 years, he predicted, George did, the VR chat guy, predicted that we will see that coming out with new VR things, and that should make games infinitely better. You won't actually have to physically walk around. Instead, you'll virtually walk around disconnected from reality. So you could sit in a chair the whole time and in virtual reality be running. So that's an interesting thing. Oh yeah, I'm actually pretty surprised how little I've gone off topic too. So anyways, he has a lot more. That's only one of the things he's mentioned to me. But I was thinking it would be interesting. I don't know if he has the time or if he'll agree to this, but I'm hoping to be able to get him on a live stream with us. Because how cool would it be to actually get to talk to one of the founders of VR Chat and at least hear his perspective on Linux development, how likely it is to get VR technology ported to Linux in the future, any development going on for that, because I think he did mention there's a little bit actually, and some of the future for that sort of technology. That'd be a horribly off-topic podcast, but nevertheless, I know I found it interesting, and he has a lot to say in that regard. So, if you guys are interested, just let me know, because I thought that would be fairly interesting. But anyways, yeah, so he was actually the one helping out with me with the VR things at the library yesterday. I think I covered most of what I'd wanted to. Are there any questions, though? I'm open to anything right now. So, last word of caution. If you want to install Reborn, yeah, please don't try to use our ISO. We have the download button. It has a beta, the word beta in it in big bold letters for a reason right now. There's not much success going on with that, and that would be due, obviously, to Cincy giving us issues, as I mentioned earlier. But I have put up a guide to converting an Antergos installation to Reborn installation. I have not actually gotten the time to test it out, so please know that if you try it in a virtual machine first. But because the Antergos installs are still working since they built their ISO so long ago, you should be able to install Antergos run the commands on that one page. I think it's only 8 steps, maybe 9. It's under 10 at least right now. And you should have converted your whole installation to Reborn. So if you want a nice, easy workaround, I'd go for that option right now. I might even once I get the steps perfectly hammered out, in other words, I actually test it out myself and get the time to do that, I'll probably stick it all in a nice little script you can download and just run automatically. But for now, I wanted to post the commands individually because, as I said, I have not had the time to test it out myself. So I thought that was neat. And if you're using Reborn, nothing affects you. I'll be updating our repository tonight, probably removing some Antergos packages that we don't really care about or need anymore. But yeah, so could you tell a little bit about the Antergos forum? So their community is actually very similar to ours. They have a similar mindset. From what I can tell, the new Antergos team, codenamed Endeavor, the Endeavor project, because obviously they're endeavoring to keep Antergos' vision, they're much more minimalistic and a bit advanced than in their ideals than we are, in that rather than with Reborn's goal is we want to be fully community-centered, which means we offer the same installer, but we offer as many options as you guys want. We don't install more than Antergos would. We actually install a little less due to some package updates I've done in the last week or two. We install a little less. I think you guys helped with that. Damien did, and a few others, actually. We took out a few packages from some of our Cosmic packages, actually. We took out some dependencies that are no longer needed. So anyways, we don't install anymore, but we do offer a lot more options in the installer and some simple one-click buttons to install some trickier things such as Anbox, Minecraft, a local server, sort of like a file sharing thing that connects to your local modem and hosts files on that so you can download it on another computer. Anyways, we've gotten some interesting things going in those. But their goal seems to be, from talking to them, that they're going to be a bit more advanced. They're actually thinking of not even, I won't go into it, but they might be a bit more advanced than we. It'll be very interesting to find out. And that'll suit different groups of people. So we will be working together, of course, developers and their developers and our developers on things like Fenix, our installer, but that's not to say our communities and our outlooks will be exactly the same. But their community, in my experience, has been amazing. So what will happen? I'm sorry, I must have misunderstood you. What will happen to all of the information on that forum after? Yes, they are struggling with that. So they have all... I don't know how familiar you are with the Antergos developers individually, now former ones, but Karasu, I don't know if that's his actual name, but Karasu I can't say enough good things about him. He's actually the person that taught me how to build ISOs. He's the one that encouraged me to create a community version of Antergos, which then eventually became Reborn OS. And he also put in good words for me on their forum when I actually left to do Reborn. So he has provided the new Antergos group with the files necessary to keep the Antergos wiki alive. As for the forum, I'm not sure. We don't know exactly what will happen there yet. And I don't want to say too much because there's actually a lot more going on over there. I've been talking almost nonstop with them. There's a lot. And as far as I can tell, it's very promising. They are extremely open to working together with us, and we've both made it clear that that neither of us would try to take advantage of the other. It would be open source the way it's meant to be, where we don't approach each other as competition, but as a resource, as a community, as a group to work together towards a common goal. The specifics of our goals may be different, but our common goal, of course, is to provide users with a Linux distro that serves their needs. And your needs in different niches and groups will be different, but ultimately, isn't that what every Linux distro wants to do? They see a little niche that they think has not been fulfilled yet, or given enough attention, and they try to create something for that. And so, what happened? Oh, sorry, Waldick, I might have taken too long. Hopefully you got the information you were hoping for. Anyways, yeah, so we don't know what's going to happen to their forum, but I'm working very closely with them, and I'm really hoping that we can save and salvage all the amazing things on the Antergos forum, because there's a lot of help there. Yeah, we're not actually sure about that, but we have guaranteed that we can at least save all the posts for the wiki. Last I heard, Joe Camprad actually had it up, the on a private. He had it on like a local HTTP connection to kind of test it out. So he has a copy of it going locally right now on one of his machines, I believe. But as far as I know, none of the images work. So all the text has already been saved. We're all good to go there. But right now we're working on actually saving the nice images and pics in the wiki right now, such as I actually created most of the content for the Antergos article a while ago about dual booting Antergos with Windows easily, and that if you've read it before, it has a ton of screenshots. One of the reasons it's so compatible with Reborn is because I was one of the people that wrote it, actually. Someone else started writing it, but I wrote probably 3/4 of it. And I check it out every now and again to make sure it's still up to date and compatible with both operating systems. But anyways, and we're similar enough because of the same. We've always used the same installer in the past, Cinchi, that everything applied the same to both of us pretty much. So if you remember, that one has so many images in it to kind of help you along. Those aren't working on the locally hosted version we have going right now, but we're hoping to get something set up, and if nothing else, we can manually add the images back. So I have copies of the screenshots, I believe, of all of them, so should be good to go, but I don't know about the forum. Does anyone else have any questions, though? I kind of ran out of content here. So, yeah, let's see. So I can't guarantee since she will be working or we'll have a working Reborn ISO going within the next week or so, but I invite you all to help test it out. I'm trying to upload almost an ISO a day. I can almost guarantee you that they won't work properly, but we're always one step closer. And so all you'd have to do to test it out is just spin it up in a VM and copy and paste the cinchi.log file for us and send it our way. Do you have any future plans? Oh, you might not have been here at the beginning, Emmanuel. So, yeah, I think I'll be finishing this up soon, but if you want to go back near the beginning, afterwards, we were talking about Fenix. It will be a new installer that's hopefully offer the same options, if not more, configuration options that Cinchi did, but be more stable, and it'll have cleaner code. Thanks to Shivanend. I'm sorry. The code is so clean. It's amazing. I'll type in the link to it. Let me get it up here. Let's see. Okay. If you want to check it out, I can't say that is perfect yet, but we're working on it. And the code is, oh my goodness, Shivanand has made it amazingly clean. It is so much easier to read and modify than Cinchi's. And so I'd like to invite anyone that wants to help us out. Maybe you could submit merge requests. That would be amazing. So I'm just going to type in, it'll help everyone. It'll help all past, present, and future users. The more contributors we have, the more stable Reborn OS, and the more likely your ideas will get in there. Team Fenix installer. This should be the link. If I didn't have a typo in it, that is. I think I did. Did I have a typo? Reborn. Yeah. Yes, I did. Can I edit that? No. Okay. I'll just copy it and get the correct link done. Sorry about that. Reborn OS team Fenix. Okay, this should be much better. There we go. Wouldn't it be an idea to just take the latest Antergos ISO and append these instances to make it work? That would be brilliant. That would be amazing. Problem is, an ISO is especially compressed file, and you can't. I've actually tried decompressing other people's ISOs before to see if I can just like extract content from them, stick it in, recompress it, and boom, we're done. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to work that way. If you actually download our ISO or Antergos ISO or anybody else's ISO and decompress it, you will notice that it doesn't. At least the ways I have viewed it, or if you mount it in your file manager, the ways I have viewed it don't actually seem to have the entire system on them. And when I've tried to modify it, it didn't really take effect in the actual ISOs. So I'm not sure what that's about. I'm assuming it's due to the unique compression that it uses. But yeah, I wish we could do that. Senshi, for us, if you recall, is throwing fits right now. Seems to have succumbed to its long-awaited death. It's slowly been getting there. It's been getting harder and harder for us to maintain as time goes on because I think if you read the Antergos news post from a few days ago when they announced that they were done, they said that for the last several months they have not had time to adequately maintain things. And so we've been trying to pick up that slack for our own releases with Sinchi. It's been getting more and more difficult. And so many of you guys on the server and in the team have foreseen the likely end of Sinchi. Okay, yeah, I can put the link in the description. Yeah, I'll just edit it after this. So basically, if you want to take anything away from this, all the help we can get on Fenix, the installer, would be wonderful because the sooner it is good to go, the sooner you guys are guaranteed to have a working Reborn ISO out for you all. And the more people working on it, the more bugs we'll notice, the more things we can iron out, the more features we can add. It benefits everyone. So if you have the time and are interested, please come on over and help. We can always use more Python developers. We can always use more people that have experience with actual Arch installs because this is horrible. I'll be entirely honest here. I've not done a full Arch install before. I'm going to be doing that this weekend if I have time. I've only actually used Antergos, and I've gotten really familiar with how to install Arch, but yeah, so I've never actually done it before. So if anyone has experience with that and thinks they could contribute with maybe the backend bash scripts, that's another thing. In the backend, we'll be using plain bash scripts. So like Sinchi, they have this weird thing where every single file in there is Python, and they kind of, well, okay, there's like 2 files that are bash, but almost everything's Python, and they kind of try to integrate bash code with their Python scripts, and from what I've noticed, it's resulted in a complete disaster if you try to modify anything. So yeah, so ours will be a Python for the front end. So what you see, complete bash for the back end to make it easy for everybody. Maybe we could archive it. Yes, if anyone has lots of space, please feel free to, I don't know, wget the entire Antergos form. We do not have the express permission of Crusoe or the other Antergos developers to then come back and host it again. But if you archive the whole thing, just download the entire thing, all the files for it, the chances are much better than 0. Because if they do say in the future, hey, you guys can use it, we'll already have the whole archived thing. So if someone wants to do that, that would be amazing. If you have the space, I do not have the storage space on my laptops. It's almost all used up I think I have about 20 old Reborn ISOs on here, maybe 15 other random ISOs, and like 10 Antergos ISOs. And I have a lot of development things going on right now. So I don't have the space on my laptops, but if anyone does have the space somewhere, please feel free to archive it. I'm sure the thousands of users on the Antergos forum will thank you over and over again for that. What the relationship between the Antergos announcement about it lasting for 3 more months and Sinchi failing for Reborn at the same day? So that's a tricky one. The Antergos devs, the original ones, once they put out that announcement, they pretty much just disappeared. They've quit almost oh my goodness, 50 terabytes. Please archive that forum if you can. That I cannot express to you how thankful some of the users would be there, because there are some users there's a whole thread on the Antergos forum somewhere. I saw it a few days ago that is dedicated to asking over and over again if someone could archive it and if they can use it later. I don't know why people keep asking over and over again. It's kind of like a repeat loop form, but yes, the need is out there. Okay, so anyways, so about lasting for 3 more months and essentially failing. Okay, yeah. So so the Antergos devs, right after they made that announcement, they pretty much disappeared for good. It's been very difficult to get a hold of them. I want to congratulate them and commend them for making the announcement, though, and not just letting Antergos slowly die. It was much better for their users, and I think they were respecting their users by making this announcement and giving people 3 months rather than slowly letting it fall into decay to the detriment of all the users that they would have trusting them to continue. So I think they did the right thing, but they pretty much disappeared afterwards. And so so I'm not entirely sure what to say about that question, but I did notice that right after they made that announcement, they archived all their GitHub repositories, including Cinchi's. So I wouldn't be shocked if that had something to do with it, because Cinchi has a lot of strange things hard-coded into it. For instance, one of the interesting things it has is that it literally hard-codes the lines to add the Antergos repository to our to the etc. pacman.conf file. So in one of the more recent testing Reborn ISOs that I put out, I created just a normal pacman.conf file. Everything's just default. It has our repository in it, but that's it. Guess what? As soon as you start Cinchi, new text pops up at the bottom, the Antergos repository. And that is one of the reasons Cinchi is failing for us right now. One of the other reasons it's failing for us. So they have several strange things hard-coded into Cinchi, so I would not be shocked if that also has something to do with it. Nothing about Cinchi has changed that day. Yeah, so I haven't seen much change about it other than the code for it is obviously getting older. They're not maintaining it anymore. And they, as I said, they archived all their GitHub repositories, including Cinchi. So with Cinchi having so many strange hard-coded things into it, I would not be shocked if it tried to grab some things from the now archived repositories on GitHub, and maybe it was having trouble accessing them for some reason because it's now marked as read-only. I'm not archived. I'm not entirely sure, but I can definitely guarantee it's not working right now. So please, if you want to try to install Reborn, do it in a virtual machine. If you get it to install, that's amazing. But please don't blame us or send us nasty emails if it fails for you, because, as I said, we have a big, bold beta button or beta text on our download button right now. So we're trying to warn people, but there was some strange, actually there was a full post on the Antergos forum lately of some user who actually downloaded it, and maybe he didn't see the beta bold text, but he tried to install 15 times in a row apparently before coming to the forum and mentioning that he couldn't install. So I feel badly for him because that means he pressed the beta button 15 times without reading it. So I feel badly for him, but I want to put that out there. People, please read the button. It says beta. There's a reason. Yes, it's always been beta. It's maybe I should have said alpha. I'll go add it. I'll go say alpha now because it's definitely yeah. I see your point. What plans are there to distribute development work to different people? Oh yeah. So, so all the work for Fenix is going to be a joint effort with us and the Antergos team, the new one. So that's working on the Endeavor project. So all that will be hopefully shared with us. And yet the way we're setting it up, we're not going to be subject to what they want. They're not going to be subject to what we want. But obviously we're going to have the same main screens, some of the same main options, some of the same or similar code in the background. And so we're going to be able to work together and at least join forces, help each other out when we need it. So we'll definitely fully collaborate there is the plan, at least, without having to compromise our own unique visions for it. As for overall development, I think I mentioned it in somewhere on Discord once. I am currently developing all the live ISOs. I maintain our repository, and I try to keep track of our Cosmic packages. I rely on you guys to mention when some of the packages in our feature selection screen in Cinchi is throwing errors and not working. And then I try to go in and fix it. I haven't been able to do so lately because, again, Cinchi's dying in a fiery inferno of destruction right now. So, but yeah, so, and then Trivoxel and I Love Cake, or I think that's your username. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. Has been helping us with graphics and a lot of testing for the ISOs. Badmem has been testing. He's been amazing. He's been testing all our ISOs for us. Techie actually was one of the main people to get our website up and running. It's thanks to him that we have the great theme we have. He's been amazing for that. He's also helping with some of the server end things. If you've ever seen Shadow around, like capital S, lowercase h, right, keeps going in that pattern, spells the word shadow. He is actually the one he's our server expert, basically. He is about to get a master's, I believe, in Germany on networking and security. And he is the one that has set us up with the amazing things we have now. He made it possible to even host our website. He actually was the one behind almost all the setup for our repository to begin with. And whenever our repository goes down, he actually has set it up so he gets a personalized email about it, and he fixes it as soon as possible. So while of course we do our best to do that, he has been utterly amazing. That's what he's been doing. He's the person where no one really notices what that person is doing until that person stops doing it, because he kind of works in the background and really keeps all our server end stuff going for us. He also found an excellent plan for us so that our VPS, he did it in such a way that none of you would notice. But last weekend, he completely switched us to a new virtual private server, because the one we were on earlier had some configuration errors, and he set it up so that we would be able to use a cheaper plan that is not only cheaper, but gives us extra RAM, CPU, and storage. So that's what he's been doing. For those of you that have been on a bit longer, I think you'll have noticed, his real name is Michael. I don't remember what his username is, but he has been one that's been really helping with the bash scripts for us. So yeah, Phoenix is already being developed. It has been for a while. It's been it's actually been in the works for over 3 months, because, as I mentioned, several of us saw that Cinchi was probably going to end. We kind of all saw it coming. And so we started getting our own installer set up. Plus, it gives us more freedom in implementing any of your guys' suggestions. We're making amazing progress. We're going to be hard-pressed, I think, to get it done in 3 months, but we're really doing everything we can. And with people from Antergos coming over to help us out, I think especially our backend things like the bash scripts that actually install stuff, that progress will be greatly accelerated. And I think we can probably get it done in 3 months. Summer is about to begin for me. That means my schoolwork and courses will be done and over, and I'll have much more time to work on this. What percentage is it at roughly? I don't know. I'm going to throw something out there. Please correct me, Shivanand, if this is incorrect. But I would assume, considering we don't actually have much of the backend code implemented yet, let's go with 5 to 10%. It sounds abysmal, but please know that is because I'm not counting the backend code. As for actually the screens that you see, if everyone on the team is fine, after this stream, I'll just upload kind of a demo of it for you. But you can see we have 3 or 4 screens already developed for it. And so the front end, I'd probably say, I don't know, I want to say we're halfway done with the front end. The back end is where the most time, work, and effort is going to come in, and that is where we're kind of just starting now. So if you count sheer lines of code, let's say 25%. If you count time, 5 to 10% probably, because the backend code is the most important part. You can have a horrible UI, but if the backend code works great, then most people like to think it's a great installer. Our installer so far actually looks really good, I think, and we're still working on it. So yeah, it's very promising at the moment. And I want to again thank Shivanand for all you're doing on it. I have not had the time to really contribute much to it because of everything else I've been working on. But thank you. Thank you so much. Shivanand, if for those that didn't know, has been the main person working on Phoenix for the last several months. Without him, we would not even be close to where we are. So thank you. If anyone wants to gift him with any thank yous in PM sometime, please do. He's been amazing, especially considering the fact that Antergos is ending. He has been, thank you so much. So I'm done here. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, I think I'm good to go. I'll try to do one next week, maybe. We can talk about it on the Discord server, figure something out, whatever time works for you guys, and we'll see what sorts of things come my way, what my week is going to look like. But we'll get something figured out. We can probably do another one of these sometime soon if people are interested. So goodbye for now, and with all of your help, we'll get to Reborn in good shape once again. Goodbye for now. Yes, I do want to end. There we go.